Good evening and welcome to Paranormal Path Chat. Unfortunately, Chris Conway hasn't been able to make it. He seems to have disappeared. But tonight I've had Greg step in at the last minute. Thank you so much for this, Greg.
Oh, you're welcome. You're
So
welcome.
I
No
was just
problem.
in a chat with another team are doing a show tonight, and I was just in a chat with them, and I just mentioned, and Greg sort of stepped forward. So
Yep.
wonderful. Nice to meet you.
And you. And you.
So Greg actually does podcasts,
Yes.
and
Yep.
as it says, it's with Pursuit of the Paranormal. I've had no preparation for this whatsoever, so we're all
Same.
good. Okay then. So generally on the show, I always start off with what started you sort of getting into the paranormal.
Okay. Yeah. So, all started when it's probably in the 80s when I was watching Arthur C. Clarke's World of Strange Mysteries
Wow.
or Mysterious World.
Yeah.
And it was talking about all sorts of paranormal events like stigmata and such like. But then there was one particular bit that used to freak me out, which was always about ghosts and poltergeists.
Yeah.
And it was from then sort of my interest sort of peaked, and I just grew up sort of fascinated about the paranormal, and then got into UFOs with the X-Files, that kind of thing, and then carried on with the paranormal. Started work with a couple of paranormal groups, local ones to where I am, and then started a podcast.
That's brilliant. Yeah. So yeah, you saw it on TV, and what happened?
Yeah.
What was your first time you actually went out, or what did you do the first time?
So yeah, the first time I went out on a paranormal investigation was to Warwick Castle.
Wow, what a place!
Yeah, yeah, and I really didn't know what to expect because I'd never been on one before, um, and yeah, it was not as scary as I was expecting it to be, because I think a lot of people have um, views that or thoughts that the paranormal investigations things are going to be thrown around, people are going to be thrown against walls. There's these things being attacked and Ouija board things flying around all over the place. But I quickly found that that wasn't the case, um, and found it really fascinating that there was a lot of people doing it, but also it wasn't as funny. It was just really fascinating to try and communicate with something, whatever that something may be.
Yeah, what sort of year was that then?
So I started paranormal investigations not that long ago, really. It was about 7 or 8 years ago.
Wow, yeah.
So fairly recently. And then after that, I joined a local paranormal group. So I was so taken with it. Yeah, and gone from there really. And then, as I say, got talking to a few people, and then me and my friends started a podcast, and we do very similar thing. We just talk to lots of people about their paranormal experiences and just trying to find out more and more information about the subject, which is so fascinating.
It is, and the people are as well.
Yes,
And you get
yeah,
so many bizarre experiences, but if you can say one of your really weird way out experiences, and one other person can say, actually, I got that, it's
hmm
some sort of
yeah.
validation, isn't it? It's
Oh, absolutely.
fantastic.
And we speak to a lot of people that have they've never told their story before. They're wary of telling their story because
That's true.
usually people don't believe them or think they're a bit crazy or whatever. And we speak to a lot of people, and they get it off their chest. And like you say, it's validation.
Oh,
It's
wow.
also just like a therapy for them. We've spoken to some phenomenal people with phenomenal stories, and
That's brilliant.
it's just their way of opening up really and giving them a channel in which to do so. So
That's it. It's lovely what you're doing. It really is. So, how do you find these people?
how do I find them?
How do
What
you find
in?
your guests? Yeah.
Oh wow, a lot of hard work,
Yeah, definitely.
as you probably attest to. So we're part of a large group of like-minded people, like my friend, and my co-host. He's the UFO expert, and
Excellent.
he's got a wide circle of friends and like-minded people that study the UFOs and paranormal. There's a very close link between the two. And we find that a lot of people who've had UFO experiences and abduction experiences also had poltergeist and paranormal experiences growing up, and it led into these experiences later in life.
That's brilliant because there is a massive link, isn't there?
Mm,
Like,
mm,
there's no guarantee who we're actually talking to.
absolutely,
Say it's
absolutely.
spirit, and I was at a Paracon with Greg and Dana Newkirk, and they do Helia, and they sort
Yes.
of went on the theory of like speaking to aliens, basically.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
that's
That's the
it.
kind of bit. Yeah. I mean, just going back quickly to your question about where do we find the guests, we're part of all these paranormal groups and
Yeah, that's
UFO
right.
groups and cryptid groups on Facebook and
Yeah,
Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. And if we see stuff that we like, we just message people and say, look, really interested. We get people emailing us
oh, that's
directly,
brilliant.
saying, I've got this story I want to tell, this experience that's happening to me. People asking us for help, which is we're
Yeah,
in no way any kind of expert in this field, so we're just try and refer them to people where we can. But yeah, loads of people contact us, and we reach out to a lot of people as well.
it is lovely when you can help people as well,
Mm,
because
definitely.
like I had a weird. I was like a skeptic and I didn't really believe much, and
Hmm.
then one thing happened which like changed my life forever, and it sort of got me doing this like every weekend. It's quite
Yeah.
insane. Like I'm out at where am I? Dudley Castle on Friday night. Going to be out till
Okay.
3 a.m. in the morning. I'm going to a concert on Saturday, and now
Yeah.
a private's come up on Sunday. I want to work, you know. I just happened to take
Yes.
Monday off to try and recover because I'm going to be shattered from Friday and Saturday. So now I've got another
Yeah.
one on. It's like I just can't help myself. It's terrible, isn't it? It's the
Yeah.
rush
It's a
to God.
very
It really is.
it's very busy as well. There's always stuff happening um, all over social media, so it's just
Oh,
trying to keep up
definitely.
with everything. So there's always stuff that people, if you're interested in the subject, there's always lots going on that you can sort of link into and meet up with new people and share experiences. So yeah, it's a very fascinating place.
It is. Have you met up with a few people then who you've met on Facebook?
Yeah, we have. We've
Perfect.
so as part of our doing the podcast, as I say, my co-host is a UFO expert, and
Excellent.
he runs has the largest UK's largest database of current UFO sightings. So his team actually run like a UFO minicon conference, and last year it was the largest. Sorry, the year before it was the largest one in the UK. So we go to that, and we meet all of the people that come on and speak
Oh,
to
that's
us,
wonderful.
guests, anybody who listens to it has come to the show, to the conference. So yeah.
Oh, that it is fascinating when you meet people, and then
Mm,
obviously you go down the route of hearing the stories, and also if
yeah,
they start talking about spirits and ghosts, and like you go in an environment and they go, "Oh, what's your hobby?" And you think, "Oh, can I mention it?" You think, "Oh,
yeah,
sod it, I will." And you say,
yeah,
"Oh, well, actually, I don't believe, but actually, when I was a kid, I saw this or I saw that," and it
yeah,
happens most of the time, doesn't it?
yeah. And I think as with people doing shows like this, Facebook Lives, people watching like Hellier and
Yeah,
Ghost Adventures, even Most Haunted, for example. I think that Most Haunted was one of the turning points, certainly in the UK, for like paranormal shows, and people can talk about it a bit easier now. It's not so
that's
much of a
right.
stigma. People are a bit more open to listening to your stories about ghosts than they probably were 15 years ago or so.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I've got Ant Fern here. I used to be in a group with him.
Okay.
And I'd sometimes go out investigating with him. So he had his
Cool.
first paranormal experience over 40 years ago.
Wow.
I was one of these people who got into it through Most Haunted.
Mhm.
But,
I think a lot of people did, yeah.
I won't hide it. The days of like Richard Felix, Derek Acora, and
Yep.
Jason Carr was in the first series. And
Mhm.
then after the first series, I booked to go to Derby Jail and the Galleries of Justice in Nottingham. So
Yeah.
they were my first two public events, and it was wonderful.
Cool.
You're scared to death. You walking in this room and go, they're going to jump out on me. Oh, this is really haunted. But actually, as time goes on, everywhere can be haunted, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Even like new estates, new buildings,
That's right.
everything can be haunted. It just depends on the land and such like. So, yeah, it's but it is a little bit more creepy when you go to a place that there is a known history.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it heightens your senses as well. So you kind of hopefully a bit more in tune with the surroundings.
Especially if it's small and dark.
Yeah.
Like Derby Jail. It's really quite small. It's dark, and you've got the old slabs on the floor, and everything about it is really old.
Yeah.
And it's just wonderful. It is creepy in itself. And then when you realise the stories that people being hung there, outside, and you wonder how many people died there, through poor nutrition, just waiting to be hung, or and oh dear, it is just a creepy thought, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's all of that. Well, I mean, we've done a lot of talking on our show about places where there's like a heightened level of trauma. So hospitals, prisons, those kind of places tend to have, because there's a high level of trauma, there tends to be more of a paranormal energy and residual energy that sort of hangs around. So I think the older places do tend to have that more creepy feel about them. And people tend to, and that's why some of the top sort of places to go on paranormal investigations are usually older buildings with the history. So
like Ant says, always to explain to people it's a level and never just a building. And
absolutely,
you know what? You don't know if it's a person who's in the building. Like I've been on investigations, and somebody's been to a building, took someone to another investigation. And that's happened before. And you just don't know, do you? So you don't usually get attachments, but sometimes you can be kind of really interesting to spirit, especially if you don't do protection. And you can, like I don't know what goes on in my house.
So do you do sort of protection beforehand, before your investigations, or no?
I've been told to.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I don't. This is a problem. I've been told to. I started mediumship about 8 years ago. Development. I didn't really think mediumship was, a thing. I didn't realise it was actually real. So I just did it for a laugh, basically.
Yeah.
And then they said, protect yourself, all the time. I thought, well, I've got all these years of my life. I've never protected myself. So why start protecting myself now? That was my theory. But then, I do go into buildings. I'm not protected. Like last Saturday, I got to. Oh, bless you. So I don't. It's coming up as that Facebook user on everybody as well. So I don't know what Facebook's messing about at. But hey ho. So, hello and welcome everyone. Supposed to be Chris Conway tonight, but unfortunately, he's unavailable. So
got me, unfortunately.
Greg is wonderful and has just stepped in at no notice whatsoever. So Greg from Pursuit of the Paranormal, one half of the team, and the other guy's into UFOs.
Yes.
Introduction. So So what do you do now? Do you go out, book locations, or do you do a lot of outside things?
Well, while the weather's not so great, not so much, because we're putting out so much content, we don't really have a lot of time. But what we done in the summer last year was we went to Cannock Chase.
Wow, awesome.
So we went out to Cannock Chase, a few of us, and we went round the forest itself to see what we could find, whether or not there's any cryptids, black-eyed children, that kind of thing. Yeah, and we set up and done some paranormal experiments. We had some dowsing rods that were going a bit crazy at times. My camera took a photo itself, but when we checked the photograph, it made the sound. It was like a DSLR camera.
Okay. Yeah.
It made a sound as the shutter sound, but when we reviewed it, there was no photos.
Weird.
We had the voice recorders, they had the infrared night vision cameras, and then we went from Cannock Chase to the Circle Ring.
Yes.
Castle Ring, sorry, Castle Ring.
Castle Ring, yeah.
And we done the Estes method, and got some amazing results, like undisputable results, which we've got on video. And it was particularly creepy. But so that's one of them. We want to go sky watching because I do believe that, like I said, there is a link between the paranormal and UFOs and all these. We think of it as like an umbrella. The paranormal is like the umbrella term for everything, and you've got UFOs, cryptids, you've got paranormal, poltergeists, everything in between. We've spoken
anything
to
unexplainable, isn't it? Of outside, the day to day and what we understand.
Absolutely. So, we've spoken to people, a particular guy, and he believes that fallen angels and almost demons as well are grey aliens. So that, and it's entirely possible. Entirely possible.
The thing is, people will have an argument about that. Go, oh no, it can't be. But we don't actually know, do we? We don't know anything.
No, we don't. I mean, since we've been looking into it, I mean, we seem to. So I came in it from a paranormal point of view. Ash, my co-host, came in from the UFO side, and we come in with these questions about, let's just find out information about all sorts of stuff. And the more we find out, the less we seem to know, and it all blurs, and everybody has experiences across everything. And it appears that some people are just open to spirituality and the paranormal, but are affected by other things that they see. So
that's it. I spoke to Preston Dennett on Monday, and he is absolutely awesome. He's so knowledgeable about UFOs and everything, and the tales he's told, and it's just fantastic. And you don't know, do you? But so much evidence to support paranormal, to support UFOs, to support cryptids. And for each of them, you still get the dodgy photos, don't you? Like, people will go, oh, that's a UFO. Well, it's like someone's light reflected in the window,
Oh, my God, don't get me started. Don't get me started on that.
So, like, you get the cryptids where it's a tree, and like, oh, yeah, there's a tree.
And same with the paranormal. People are saying, oh, can you see this in the photograph?
That's
and I'm
right.
like, what? Tell me what you can see, and I'll see if I can see it. But don't ask me what I can see when there appears to be nothing there. Because I think that's one of the good sides of social media and Facebook is that people have got this outlet to post evidence and all that kind of thing. But then the other side of that is that you get people who are literally just putting stuff up. I put a picture up of a blurred close-up photo of my dining room table because I was that annoyed by the whole thing. And I put, can anybody see what I can see? And then people were saying they could see the devil, they could see all sorts. I'm so...
It's amazing. Like, I go to Haunted Antiques in Hinckley quite a lot. I actually help host there. And one day we're there and somebody noticed a carpet and somebody spilt something on it, and it's like cream carpet. And it had a face on it. It looked absolutely wonderful, And like, you'd put that on social media, they go, oh, yeah, that's real.
And I think that's the problem, really. It's it brings out a lot of people who are either craving attention, which I get. People like
Yeah,
to be
that's fair
liked,
enough. Yeah.
but it also brings out the people that I don't know if people are doing it because they genuinely believe there is something there, or they're just doing it for attention.
Yeah,
And they
I think a lot actually so believe. They
yeah,
think that
there is that as well.
if you say it's not what they say it is, then you're not a believer. You know, oh,
Correct.
you don't know nothing. And
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And I try and put my point of view across as best I can in these groups and say, look, I have a podcast. I study this subject constantly in my spare time, especially the UFO stuff. My co-host, he knows everything about UFOs,
Wow.
and we've got a great knowledge of people that we can call on to say, have a look at this. What do you think? Or what do you think about this? What do you think about this picture? And we usually got somebody who can help us, but you try and point that out to people and say, have you thought that it might be this in the first instance? Because you need to rule out everything it could be.
That's right.
And if you're left with something, then cool, that is unexplained at that point. But like a smear on a window or some smoke in a room where it looks like someone's smoking in the room, it's just like,
yeah, it's a cold day and people are outside exploring, and then you've got
it's difficult. It's difficult. Yeah. I've been banned from many groups on Facebook for trying to point out stuff, and now I get told you're not a believer.
Oh yeah,
like you just said, not a believer, and then I get booted.
I just found I spent too long on those groups, and I thought, particularly on a Friday or Saturday night, you know, you're just chilling after a long week, and you're not out. You think, I want to go out, but then you get somebody post something, and then it starts. No,
it's
I don't.
Like a Wild West.
I'm well behaved now. I
try to be.
Friended those groups. Yeah. I don't know if I got booted, but I got a lot of people having a go. I'm not a believer.
And that's the thing. I said I probably want to believe this more than you. That's the kind of thing. I was like, I'm completely. I do this as a hobby all the time, and I want nothing more than to find that holy grail, which is that evidence that just you can't debunk or whatever. But there's some absolute rubbish, for want of a better phrase, goes up there.
That's it. That's why I've got a group. This is going out on my group and my page, and I try and keep these. I think when people join, it's like I'm not into bits of dust and things, you know. It's for like more experienced people, you know. And sure enough, we'll look at the photo, and people do post the photos, and let's be educational, you know. Let's try and work it out. Like the other week, someone posted something, and I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's like ball lightning.
Okay.
It was weird. It was these woods and there's like a flame in it. Now somebody thinks it's like a computer game with a camera, and it does that effect on that game. But they said it was a game camera, but translation to UK, it's like, you know, the camera what sits outside catching foxes.
Yeah, like a trail cam.
You know, you've got to do the translation as well, because words over here mean things different from the US. And
absolutely,
the only thing I could say it was something like ball lightning.
Okay,
I don't know. Yeah, it's just weird, isn't it? But you know, I thought, well, I've got no answer for this one, and I really tried, and I don't know. You know, it's just,
and that's fair enough. That's what people should do. They should put the photo up for that kind of scrutiny, really, because I think a lot of people, if you really called them out on it, they would either confess, actually it could be that, but some people don't want to accept it's a particular thing. So I think the way modern cameras work as well, people are a little bit under educated in the way, say, an iPhone camera works. So the amount of photographs I've seen, there's a little green dot in a photograph. I can't believe this. And it's like, it's lens flare. And now they're like, you're not a believer. You're not a believer. I saw it in my own eyes. It's like, you didn't. You saw it on the camera. But unfortunately, because you're not there, when they took the photo, it is very difficult. And we find out when we speak to a lot of people that the stories are so fantastical and so unbelievable at times that you're like, only that person can know if that's true or not. And
Yeah,
we have
that's
many
right.
discussions. We discuss it loads after the
Yeah.
podcast. We make no on our chats. We make no sort of. We don't make our mind up as to what it'll be on the podcast. We speak privately about whether or
Of
not
course you do. You don't want to
somebody
belittle
was
someone, do you?
exactly. And we've held back episodes because we're still not been sure that the person was actually telling the truth, and
Yeah.
they'll send us a photograph, and I reverse Google image all the photographs to see if it's been posted anywhere before. I found a photograph that we'd been sent, and it was actually posted on Twitter about 5 years ago or so. But everything else that the person was telling us, we ummed and ahed. We did put the episode out, and I won't tell you what one it is, but
Yeah.
we nearly didn't. But we have held back episodes that we've not published because we've been unsure of the validity of the claims. But yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, it is. And, that's the thing about the paranormal. It's whether you believe the storyteller.
Yeah.
Like, the people around me, I trust them.
Yeah.
And when I've been out in the real world, like with my friends, I'll go, right, you've got to go with this. This is the way I see what happened. Yeah. And you'll describe this way out, far out story. Mm-hmm. But for us, we know that's the best sense we can make of it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've got problems with my past life. I've got links to that. I know where he lives, and it turns out on one past life I lived in there before he did. Wow. And then in another past life, I think he got me hung. And it's like, and it's freaky, and I don't know. And it's so interesting, isn't it? And intriguing.
Yeah,
just trying to put pieces together as well.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke to one guy in America, and he believed he was an orphan, and he was adopted when he was a baby, and he believes that he is reincarnated, and that's cool, and his story completely legitimate from our side. And he actually went to investigate a property that he had he'd seen these flashbacks in his dreams of this particular concrete stairwell. He went on a ghost hunt, what turned out to be an old orphanage, and he was going down the stairs and saw the stairs that he was seeing in his dreams. And it turns out that he was at the same place that his previous life as a child in this children's home was, and he saw as the spirit, the guy that pushed him down the stairs and killed him. Yeah.
Oh God.
How mental is that? And you say that out loud, and you're like, "What? That's absolutely crazy." But it's not. It's just so.
Yeah.
So we speak to a lot of people like that, and the stories are so insane. And I say that in a nice way. They're just such a complete blast. Yeah, completely against what any rational person would come out with, like a normal sort of day to day.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like we've spoken to many people and say if only a small part of what they're saying is true, then effectively all of it's true in our mind, and they've had one hell of a ride.
Yeah, it's weird because this story keeps developing about past lives.
Yes.
And I was actually on a weekend with Brian J. Kano. I went to Galleries of Justice, where this guy was a judge.
Yeah.
I went to Derby Jail, and I went to prison as well. So I was at Derby Jail, and I was telling this story of the past lives, and something tried to strangle me. So we weren't even investigating. We just went there to listen to Richard Felix, to listen to him tell stories. Mm-hmm. in this story, like all of a sudden, I was being strangled by something.
Oh, crikey.
Yeah, and the thing is, this guy who was a judge in Nottingham, he could have been a judge at Derby.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
just don't know, do you?
No.
And
So what happened after that then?
well, I'm still trying to find. Robbie Crosland's actually on here, so he did the second past life regression with me.
Yeah.
And that's basically when I found myself on the streets of the 1800s, and I was actually called into the galleries of justice to receive to a trial, and I quit. I pulled myself out of it because basically I knew what the result was. I was going to be hung. I knew that straight away.
What were you in the court for? What were they?
I'm a
What was the
past
crime?
life. I killed somebody.
Okay.
So basically,
Oh, okay.
in my past life, I got involved in. I'd lived in a house in Nottingham, and my family were fine. And then my dad died. Something happened with him. So it's a really loving family. Something happened there. And then I've actually got it recorded, but I haven't put it out there yet because I need to get more answers. Robbie will vouch for all this story because he took me through it. It's brilliant at past life regression. And we got to a stage that I went into taking money at cockfights.
Oh.
And then there's another stage where I jumped another 5 years. He says, "What you doing now?" And I went in the bar. I bought a bottle of hooch or something from behind the bar and was like walking through the streets drunk.
Oh, wow.
And, I was like, I was swaying, I think, as well, because Robbie wasn't watching it. I haven't watched it, but yeah, it's incredible. And then, you get to a stage and Robbie kept pushing me like every 5 years, "What you doing now? Where are you now?"
Yeah.
And went through this, but at the end it wasn't 5 years because Robbie could see in advance where I was heading.
Okay.
And so if you ever want a past life regression, Robbie's watching. So
definitely, yeah,
absolutely intriguing. But for my past lives at the moment, 1200s, I was a peasant in Nottingham, living at the house. Living at the location because obviously it wouldn't have been a house as such then.
Yeah.
Of where the judge, who is in my later life, actually haunts now, basically. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so it's all crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So wait, what do you think? Why do you think you keep coming back? Why do you?
I don't know. I don't get it. I'm trying to get an answer now. It's kind of. I've been writing a book now about 3 years. I've done 63,000 words. I'm ready to put it out. So close. I need to edit them. I know someone who can edit it. I'm so close to getting it out, but I kind of need an answer on this now.
Yeah.
Maybe I can just tell him to get lost. It's quite funny.
Yeah, definitely. That's
there's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's he said I was bouncing all over the street. But
it's definitely fascinating. I mean, the whole past life thing is pretty wild.
Yeah, and then you get people who say they're on the Titanic. Like you look at YouTube and people are on the Titanic, and I think in a paper today I saw somebody who said that they're in the Twin Towers. Wow. They're now being born, and they're actually there when that happened.
Yeah.
So it's different with time, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, it's
something as recent as the Twin Towers, and I'm coming back already.
I know. So I wonder though, how long? Is there a set time for that? Is it that it happens straight away, or is there a period of time that you? So we spoke to somebody and they said that you will come back after. So if you're in a life and it ends before it should have done, for whatever reason, that you won't get reincarnated until the original person's life should have ended. So if they got killed prematurely for whatever reason,
Yeah.
or died prematurely, that you wouldn't reincarnate until you were. Yeah. So I don't know how.
It's all interesting, isn't it? Why, like they say, it's like unfinished business, stuff like that as well, or religion as well. That's another, because of the belief system, and also like as Richard Felix says, when people get hung, this is against religion, isn't it? So they can't see themselves passing over, or they've murdered somebody or something like that. So
exactly.
it's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, definitely agree.
And your head just goes crazy though. You just think, well, what if, and I don't know. It's mad.
I think, and that's the thing. I think the more you think about it, the less it makes sense as well. You kind of go, well, reincarnation, I kind of get it, but then the more you look into it, you're just like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? We spoke to some people about past life and reincarnation. They said that the people in your lives now, they're the circle of people that you've been in previous lives with.
Yes,
so all through your journey, so you meet these people, and the couple that we interviewed, they had actually been married to each other in a previous life. So,
gosh. Wow.
Yeah, it's completely wild, really. Yeah.
I know that potentially. Like, I told the story that I knew at the time about John. So, John is a judge, and he went to 2 pubs in Nottingham, which are still existing, and he worked at the court, and he was like hanging people, sentencing people when he shouldn't have done, basically, because there's an executioner who liked hanging people and whatever, and the judge thought, yeah, there you go. And it is, oh dear, Ant's having a problem, because Ant knows this guy as well. Ant's met him. I met him. It's the Robin Hood Legacy in Nottingham, where this person actually lives, who's a judge and all that. Right. And Ant's been there when we've investigated with him coming through on trance and things like that. Oh, wow. And for trance mediums to actually bring him through and get information from him, and got a confirmation about things as well.
Wow.
We even know his surname. He really didn't want to give that out, but he gave it out under trance conditions.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But we had to trace it. This is a problem.
Yeah.
So
how do you go about finding the information? So if you've got a small bit of information that you're given, like from the mediums or through the regression therapy stuff, how do you go about finding out if that's true, or how do you find more information? Do you sort of essentially like Google names, or
tried to find his name? Yeah, but I'm not very good at that.
Yeah.
I do know somebody who is, so I might have a word with her.
Yeah, I just wondered how.
It is fascinating. The year I got as well, that weekend when I was away, and I was at Derby Jail in the galleries.
Yeah.
Gary Fields was out and about, and I told him the story. And at one stage on my Facebook, he said he's cheesed off now. I'd actually just sat in his chair within the galleries. And then, I just returned to base room, and Gary virtually put that on straight away. And, he was kind of linking in with him. So it's weird how that happens. And for me to do a past life, for me to mention this story, for somebody to be on the show as well, Patricia Ann Farrar we were just chatting one day on Just Alive like this, and she says, I feel that you were hung in Nottingham. And then I do this next past life, and I think this is what happened. But I bottled it, but I can actually go back into it. But and it's mediums to say, mediums have randomly said to me, you've got links with your past life.
Yeah.
This was 7 years ago. It's what the hell are you on about? I don't even know what a past life is at that time.
No. Yeah.
yeah, it's
It's
so
mind blowing, isn't it?
fascinating. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is, and it's I think, and it's what I've said to Ash before, that like to be able to speak about these things sort of out loud, whereas sort of 5-10
Yeah, I
years
know.
ago
I get
you
a lot of
start talking
time.
about it and people are like, oh my god, they're insane,
Yeah.
get 'em away. Whereas now it's kind of like people are really fascinated about like past lives, anything
That's right.
paranormal. I think people love it.
It is such a fascinating subject
Yeah,
though, isn't it? And
yeah,
like you
definitely.
could go all your life going, "Oh no, I don't believe, I don't believe," and
Hmm.
then spirit will show you something, and
Yeah,
that's that. You're just hooked, aren't you? And then
yeah,
all of a sudden you've seen that there is something. So then all the doubts you've had about things before, where you've like just thought, "No, that's nothing," no, it's not happening. Then think, well, actually, yeah, it probably was something. And
yeah,
it's just too fascinating, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I think my microphone's just gone a bit funny. I do apologize.
Is mine going? Or yours?
I think it was mine.
All right.
I do apologize.
No, it's fine. I keep getting technical issues at the moment. Well, you don't know what causes it, do you? I had
No.
I've got a cat ball there,
Okay.
there,
Yeah.
and I was speaking to Preston on Monday, and it was like going for it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So
So
what kind of so talking about cat balls, what kind of equipment do you find the best when you're doing paranormal investigations?
myself now, because I've done development for about 8 years.
Yeah,
Kind of freaking myself out quite a bit because I'm getting names, getting dates, I'm trying to get it validated. Um,
yeah,
but then when I do this, usually people are using dowsing rods or something else.
yeah,
So when I'm getting the information, the dowsing rods are going, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I'll come out with something total rubbish. And then the
yeah.
dowsing rods will go, no. I thought, yeah,
Okay.
that's cool. And like, if I've got a doubt in what I'm thinking, because sometimes you've got to translate what you're getting, because
Mhm.
you sort of get something, you don't you've got to put it into words. And sometimes you're not quite sure. And then you see the dowsing rods are like, they're not sure which way to go because you don't understand what you're
Okay.
asking and they don't understand it. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, totally fascinated. So what equipment do you use? How do you go about things?
Um, so we use a spirit box mainly,
Yeah,
voice
cool.
recorder, and like an infrared camera, really,
Yeah,
mainly to capture. So what we try and do is that if we do the Estes method, for example, we'll
wonderful.
record
Yeah,
it. We'll record it separately, so we've got um, the questions being asked, and we can get the response. So at least we can try and validate if there's an EVP whilst the person who's
excellent.
listening, and then we'll also capture it on camera as well, so that if anything, so we try and capture the evidence on a couple of different mediums, for want of a
Excellent.
better
Yeah,
phrase. So if we can capture an EVP at the same time we're doing a spirit box, and the spirit box says the same sort of thing as the EVP,
yeah.
that to me, as two
That's
different devices that
validation.
it starts to to prove things or provide a more solid evidence. I think is the key. It's the more bits of equipment or more devices that you can get the same piece of evidence captured on,
That's right. Yeah,
that's when it's very difficult to debunk something that's caught on camera. You've got a voice on an EVP and sort of an Estes method type validation as well, I think.
that's it. I
So
do. I
so they're
do
the
like
main
the
ones.
Estes method. Yeah.
Yeah, we love it. We've done it over the internet before. We've got some semi decent results via like a Zoom or a Zoom call.
Yeah,
Um,
I did that. I was at a Paracon, a Sage
hmm,
Paracon last year, and they did remote.
yeah,
So Richard Estep was in the UK. We were with
yeah.
him in a session. One of his friends was over in the US. She'd got something, and we had to say what she'd got, and
Okay.
other things as well. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I
And
think it's a
the
really good
results were
way.
really, yeah,
Yeah, I think if you can get like that, it becomes then even more legitimate because you haven't got the influence of somebody, say, standing close to you and sort of suggesting things, or you might be able to hear them ever so slightly, or
That's right. Yeah.
and subconsciously you're answering what you think you should be hearing. So something might come through, and you kind of like, I'm not sure what that said, but which is why we just say, look, whatever comes through, doesn't matter if it's whatever,
Yeah.
just say. And if you can't understand what's being said, say something's being said, but I can't understand it. So at least we're trying to capture a response to any kind of questioning, and later on we can see if there was any kind of correlation between questions and such like.
Yeah. Sorry, we haven't been covering the comments that well. Sorry about that. But Robbie says only once has he had the same voice come through 2 different spirit boxes at the same time.
Wow.
Devices were 100 feet apart. I asked a question on one for one I had, and I came through mine as well. Team members at the other side of a graveyard.
Wow.
It's fascinating.
Cool. And I think the fact that you can get the same voice on 2 different devices 100 foot apart, I think that's pretty insane. Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
I was at Shepton Mallet when I did 2 days there, 2 nights consecutive, and I decided to sit where the prisoner was, meeting a visitor, basically. So I sat in the prisoner seat, and then and I got this story, and it was from the 1970s. So the victim's family might still be around, and his family might be around. And I don't think he's confessed to the story either, because all the way through the court, he went, no, I didn't do it. Then all of a sudden, he kind of, the more I was picking up, like mediumship-wise, it was obvious he'd done it. And in the end, he sort of came clean and basically said he didn't mean to kill her, it was an accident. And I think that was what actually stopped him from crossing over. Because everyone saw, and he wanted to get that over to them. But I can't go, if I could find the family, I can't go and tell them that.
No.
Reality.
No,
I have tried to trace, but Shepton Mallet can only publish names to a certain time. This is the thing, but oh gosh. And right on the end, I got a spirit box on, and it came out twice, so clear. I must apologise.
Oh.
In the same voice, and that's the only result I've had off a spirit box, because I haven't actually used them much myself.
Mm.
And I was actually going to record the whole what I was getting and stuff, but I didn't, because it took a turn for being recent, and it's not.
Mm.
Don't want to like upset people,
No, get that.
But that no one's going to hear it on it. It's here, isn't it? But it's not.
Yeah.
People's faces and things. Yeah.
No, that's right. It's still a bit of sensitivity around sort of newer stuff, isn't there? So.
That's right. Yeah, I haven't sort of gone into the details, but I've gone through the internet trying to find, but I haven't as yet. But I'm not very good at. You just got to go through all the papers in an area, haven't you? I guess every single day.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
You're going to find it, aren't you? So. I haven't got that much time, to be fair.
No, it's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult.
Yeah, that's right. I do a full-time job at night. I'm busy out and about, and that's one of them, isn't it? But,
yeah, definitely.
So, what's the most amazing thing that you've captured, though? The most amazing evidence? That was good. You mentioned.
Yeah. So, the best piece of evidence that I've personally captured is my nan went into a care home, and when she did, my mum was looking to sell her house so that they could pay for the bloody care home bills, which is ridiculous. But so it was the last weekend that they had the house. The house was an old, like pebble dashed house, had like a sunken kitchen, so you had to go down steps into a kitchen, and the kitchen window was at eye, like foot level outside. It's a very old building. So I said to my mum, "Look, I've got a camera. Well, I've got my full spectrum camera. Do you think I could have a quick go around the house?" I said, "Obviously, it's Nan's house, so I get it if not." And she was like, "Yeah, go ahead. It'd be fascinating to see what you get." So I went into the bedroom that my granddad and my nan shared. And incidentally, my granddad actually died in that room. So of cancer, but he was home and died at home. And my uncle actually died in the house, and my great nan also died in the house. So there's 3 confirmed family deaths in the house. I have various things.
Well, yeah,
anyway,
that's right.
So I put the camera up and had a voice recorder and just started speaking away. And there were some bits that had happened I hadn't really noticed. The door kept opening, and my daughter was in the room with me, and she closed the door and was looking round the door. There was only us upstairs.
Yeah.
Closed the door, and then she was like, "I'm a bit freaked out by this. Can I?" She's only little. She was like, "Can I go?" I was like, "Yeah, go and see Nanny. That's fine." And as I said, "Go and see Nanny," the door opened. Right. So the bedroom door opened. It was an old school door with a latch. So that opened. So that freaked her out as she was going out. So I closed the door again. And I was chatting away, just talking to thin air, recording all of this. And I said, "Right, I thank you. If you were communicating with me, that's great. I'll have a listen to a voice recorder later, and all the questions I've answered. If you've answered stuff, that's perfect. Thank you. And I wish you well." And I walked off out of the room. That's fine. I looked at the video footage, and just as I said, "I'm going to leave now, or I'm going," a white orb appeared in front of me, a bright white light.
Wow.
And if you've ever have you seen Donnie Darko? The film Donnie Darko. So in that, it's like it projects the future out of his body, and he's sort of like this wormhole thing appears in front.
Wow.
And it was very much like that. This light went round the room, round the side of the room, and out the door.
Oh my gosh.
And I retraced that route as I walked out the door. I've got it on YouTube. I'll send you the link. It's very interesting. Yeah. And I've got the full HD version on the laptop. And I was just like, "What?" And it was. And when I looked back at the footage again, just before the doors opening, there were sort of lights, sort of just going up, very faint, going up. And I've tried to point them out on YouTube, but yes, that's the craziest bit of evidence I've.
So kind of beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. And the fact it was like family as well. It was.
Oh, exactly.
It was even more. But I was expecting nothing. I didn't see anything at the time, and I didn't even notice the doors opening. It was just. I don't know why I didn't, because I closed them a couple of times. So I didn't even think, why does that door keep opening?
Oh wow!
It's an interesting. It's only a few minutes long. I condensed it down, but I'll send you that.
Yeah, definitely. I'll share it on these. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting bit. We get sent all sorts of stuff. People send us videos of aliens and all manner of stuff. But But the paranormal stuff, we've got some Estes method stuff from Castle Ring on camera. That's interesting.
Brilliant.
Where I asked, "Can you name any members of the group?" And my co-host Ash, who's got the blindfold and everything, says Abigail. It says Abby, sorry. And the lady with us, her name's Abigail, and she walked past Ash at the same time he said Abigail. It's like completely weird. And then there's some other bits that he talks about. We talk about the name Daniel, and Daniel was the name of a person that we spoke to about. He talked to us about the fallen angels and ETs and aliens. And we were talking. I was talking about that, and I said, "Is that Daniel? That we're talking? Have we spoken to you? Or what's that fact?" And then Ash says something like, "That's not me. I'm not him." And he said I could hear something else going on. There was like a conversation between these things happening in his head. He can explain it so much better. I just murdered that.
It's hard to explain, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is.
So yeah, we've got a few bits, but still nothing that you could go, wow.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm looking for.
Can you? Because people have got to trust you, trust that someone's not speaking in the background.
Yeah.
Trust that someone's not acting. Not wearing a sheet and saying they're a you know what I mean? If you got an image, just that you haven't photoshopped it, and it's just so much, isn't there? And
you have to put a lot of faith in people that they're telling the truth, and it's very hard nowadays with technology as it is that it's becoming more and more difficult to sort of pick out the ones that are fake.
That's it,
you've got stuff is so good now that if you post up something that is clear, people go, well, it's too good, it's fake. So you can't sort of win either way. It's either too blurry, like you mentioned right at the start, the photographs are always rubbish, or they're too good. So it's just like, where can I go with this? If I took a photo of a ghost right in front of me now, and I posted it up, and I said this was taken on my iPhone, they'll go, well, there was a light somewhere, there's lens flare, which I'm pretty sure I could say whether or not it was lens flare.
Yeah.
But if it was too good in this high resolution photo, people go, well, that could be anything. And like you say, you have to trust that these people are telling the truth. And I think when you speak to people over the course of like an hour or 2 hours, like we do on the podcast, that you kind of get an idea as to whether or not get an idea. You can't be 100% sure, but the more we spoke to one guy, and the second time we spoke to him, it looked like he was reading from notes.
Okay.
To try and keep himself on track, and I kept pushing back on him and saying, no, what do you mean by that? And it kind of put him on the back foot a little bit. And he kind of like, oh God, I don't know. But he could just be doing it because he was nervous and he'd got some notes, so he could tick off what he wanted to talk about. And this is like,
it is interesting. It is. So Robbie says, have you ever had a WTF moment when something happened that could not rationally be explained?
Yes, I went to the Ancient Ram Inn.
Oh, wow. I've not been there yet.
Yeah, no, I found the last time I went, I was petrified the whole time, and I don't get scared of like paranormal investigations, but I can explain a bit more about that. But we went on an organised hunt there a few years ago, and there was a Ouija board in the main sort of bar area on the top of a barrel. We were all sat round this Ouija board, a large one it was, and all of a sudden from underneath, and there was a solid barrel underneath, so it just sat on it. The whole Ouija board just flew up, sort of as though it had been hit from underneath. And I was like, it could have been one of the organisers. It could have been, but I don't know. That's one of the moments I'm just like, I don't know. That's probably my biggest WTF moment.
Yeah, some things you just don't know, do you? Like, I don't get scared, but I don't know. Recently, I was fearful of something, and like, I don't know. Or you feel someone's energy change. Like if something's behind them, and you feel the energy, and you think, is this person about to hit me? Yeah. Because you know the person next door to you won't, but whatever thing they've got with them, how safe are you? You know, you do wonder sometimes.
Yeah, another moment like that was we went to the Ancient Ram Inn again. Actually,
oh wow.
Some people haven't liked it there, but I found it fascinating there. And we went into sort of like the garage sort of area. I don't know if you call it a garage area. Anyway, it was only a team of 5 of us went there, and we were in there. We're just walking around, me and this guy. We're walking around, and we heard like a knock behind us. I was like, "Did you hear that?" He was like, "Yeah." And the others were in the kitchen sort of area. And if you've been to the Ram Inn, there's a kitchen area that's sort of away from everywhere.
Oh, right, okay.
And then we walked back, and we were the only people in this part of the building, just me and him. And as we walked past, we couldn't see where this knock had come from, but we walked through a curtain bit, And he goes, "Can you hear that?" There was a growl sound from sort
Wow.
of the bottom of the stairs, and I was just like, and from that moment on, I freaked out the whole night. I
Yeah.
was like, "Do not leave me alone." And I'm 6'2", I'm a big lad,
It was
um,
growl, yeah.
and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is horrific." And then they were like, "Should we do some lone vigils?" I was like, "No, no, no,
Brilliant.
not tonight, not for me."
Oh,
But yeah,
that's
I know people who have been to the Ramin, like the guy just said there,
Simon, yeah.
Simon, and I know people have been to the Ramin and nothing's happened. I went
Well,
to
you can
30
go
East Drive.
anywhere. You can
I
go
went to 30
anywhere
East
and
Drive.
nothing happen.
Absolutely, and that's one of the most frustrating things about the paranormal
Oh,
is
yeah.
when you say to somebody you're going on a ghost hunt, they go, "Oh, wow, all these things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Aren't you scared?" And you're like, "Well, nothing might
Nothing
actually
happens.
happen. I might just sit there all night and nothing happen." And they
Yeah.
go, "But isn't that a waste of like however much it might be?" They
Oh,
go, "Well,
no.
no, because
It's 1
it's
minute. 1
it's
minute.
that
That's all you
thrill."
need, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
anticipation and
definitely.
everything.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, what else do you do? I've certainly stopped drinking.
Yeah,
Because,
I don't
like,
drink.
when you've got to drive on a Saturday night and go out, you're not down Nottingham and spending whatever. So actually, it can be
Yeah,
cheaper, can't it?
it can be cheaper. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I'm looking for. Oh, tomorrow I'm at Dudley Castle. I'm looking forward to that
Oh,
one. Never
nice,
been there before.
nice. No,
Public
I've not been there.
event.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How
So
how do you find public events? Because obviously you get people there that
oh, awkward.
they're out either there for a bit of a laugh,
Yeah.
which I get, and it is one of those things that
Yeah, I
people do.
know.
But then you get people like myself and like yourself
That's
that
right.
are trying to get the most out of the time there and
Yeah, that's
trying to
right.
take it serious. And then you've got people that you just don't know if you can trust people. That's the thing.
Oh
Are
yeah.
they
They get
genuine? But
possessed.
like you said, they might have thrown something or knocked a wall and goes like,
That's
"Have you
right.
heard that?" So that's why I like going with the paranormal groups that I belong to,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
or out of my co-host. So at least you know, and you kind of go, well, if it was you, I would hope you would say it was you who made that creaking noise, even if it's by mistake. Go, "Oh, that was me," or
Yeah.
we do a voice recording session for EVPs, and one of us might cough or make a noise, and we on tape go, "That was
Straight
me."
away. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that was
right.
me.
Right up to it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
but
my noise.
yeah,
Room
that's it,
noise,
and that's
things like
it.
that.
It's
Yeah.
like, sorry, that was me.
I think you get a gauge quite quickly of people though, don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Like straight away if someone's admitting it or if someone's giggling and being stupid, straight away.
Yeah,
I go along and I tend to zone out.
yeah,
Now I
yeah.
was recently at one and all I had a choice was table tipping and board. And I was really pressurised to do the board. And
Mhm.
said to me, "Oh, are you scared?" No, mate. I don't know people. He pushed me in a
No,
corner,
that's it.
so I was straight. I says, I don't trust strangers. I
Mhm.
said, too many. He pushed it. I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
pushed me. I said it, So in the end, I went on, and it's a mother and daughter, and it was all about them.
Yeah.
But then I started getting things mediumship wise. And I was coming names, so it's going, yeah. So I was getting all the things, and it's going, yeah. And so it was quite But then the guy running it, the board, he said like, "Oh, I'm a clairvoyant," and he was coming out with things for the family as well. So it's like not a sing off, but like I was saying things, he was saying things. It's like, okay. So it's like we're both linking in. So it's quite different way of doing it, wasn't it?
Definitely.
But yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, I think being pushed to do sometimes I go with my friends who like actually understand where I come from. I'll take part. I've got the energy, go for it. I treat everyone respectfully. But then I do try and zone out sometimes. But then I was at one the other day. I was in a room and I don't. You get the question, "Are you medium?" Well, I don't call myself that. I've done development 8 years.
Yeah.
But then this guy was asking questions, and it's a bit slow going. I think the spirit was a bit bored, to be fair, because I'd got Paratech on, and it kept coming out, "Stupid, idiot." It was coming out with all these words, and he was doing like, "What year is it? 1200s, 13?" With the glass yell there, and like, And I got the year just like that. So he did
Yeah.
it all. I said, "Oh, this year, yeah." How do you know that? Well, I don't know. And it's like, what's the name? So he went right through every single letter of the alphabet. And I got the
Yeah.
word Fred, but I didn't say. So they went A to Z. And then it was no, 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 no. Because I think the spirit was messing around with him. And I said, "Oh, is it Fred?" Yeah. So whether they were humouring me, but
it might well have been.
spirit is funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
and I think a lot of people don't they think it's all it has to be serious and scary, and
oh no.
but I like to have a bit of a laugh, and
Oh gosh, yeah.
and it helps take the pressure off of people. But also, I think it builds the energy up a bit. I think if you're too scared, you become a bit too closed off, and you don't relax. And I don't think you can have an effective paranormal investigation if you're like really tight and wound up, or you're really scared.
Yeah,
So if
that's
you're relaxed and you're sort of a bit more sort of chilled out and up for a bit of a laugh, I think that can get results, and spirits can react and interact with you better.
Yeah, it is. It is. Like the times you can have a laugh. Like Mark Warbank, he's. I keep seeing Facebook users, and I don't know why it's doing that because it's annoying. It's frustrating. But I was. Mark Warbank came to the UK from Auckland, and he sort of invited a few people to meet him, and I met him. And it's a place I go to actually host there, Haunted Antiques in Hinckley. And that night, nothing happened. But our energies were crazy. Because we're like all experienced, our energies were through the roof, and still nothing happened really.
Yeah.
But
strange,
you get this time, don't you? And
yeah. Sometimes it's just not to be.
It's not happening, but we had a damn good night.
That's good. That's the main thing.
So,
that's the main thing.
We met each other, and it's great, and it's it's fantastic. But I want to thank you anyway for
welcome.
Thanks. So supposed to have a guest tonight. Unfortunately, he didn't make it. So Greg just stepped in for me at the very last minute. But
it was. It was.
It
was a pleasure. It's really good. It's really good.
But thank you so much from Greg. Pursuit of the Paranormal. Have you got YouTube?
Yep, so we've got YouTube, Pursuit of the Paranormal, TikTok, Pursuit of the Paranormal, Facebook, Pursuit of the Paranormal podcast. Everything. If you go on linktree.com/Pursuit of the Paranormal, everything's on there.
Everything. Right.
Yeah.
So I'll just put this in so it'll actually go out. Check out Pursuit of the Paranormal. There we go. Spelt it right. So that'll actually go out onto YouTube and everywhere. So
amazing.
Yeah,
and, I'll share it. I'll share it all around as well.
Oh, cheers! Thanks. I'll start sharing it. I just need to change the name on the broadcast. But but Charles, sending massive healing to you. Okay, and sending healing to everyone who needs it. All right, because I think a lot of people are struggling at the minute. It's winter as well, isn't it? And this country, it's all going and all over the world, isn't it, with Turkey and everything.
100%.
But
yeah,
but take care, everyone. Look after yourselves. Thanks for watching. And on Monday, my special guest is Neil Packer. Okay, take care, and thank you, Greg. Thank you.